Thank you very much. We may be seated. Good morning, distinguished ladies and gentlemen. I welcome everyone to the 11th Distinguished Lecture of the University of Medical Sciences, Ondo. This particular distinguished lecture is a special one. And it's a special one because this also marks the end of an era in a way, and it is the last distinguished lecture that the Vice Chancellor of this university will be conducting with us. With his permission, I would like to create a context for this particular lecture so that we understand the essence of what we are here to do. Without any doubt, the nation is grappling with a lot of economic challenges. And these challenges have affected all the sectors of the economy. The education sector appears to be the worst of all the sectors, particularly when you look back in the last few years, what allocation actually comes to education. We can all decide to fold our hands and then say, let it continue. Today also happens to be the World Book Day. If today is the World Book Day, it is therefore not a coincidence that we are interrogating a very important topic that affects almost everyone. And what is this topic that we are interrogating? If the issue continues like this, what will be the future of education in the next 5 to 10 years? And what gives us also the impression that things will not get worse than it is at the moment? We have had the opportunity of having a leader, a transformational leader, and he's about to leave us. Part of the legacies he can leave behind is for us to begin to find solutions to the challenges grappling that particular sector. And you will agree with me, he's eminently qualified to actually trigger this kind of conversation, given what he has done in the last 5 years. And the question now is, this is a knowledge institution. Can the universities trigger national development amid economic challenges? Or should the universities also continue to complain, just like others? Then what happens to the knowledge that we claim to have? I want us to begin to imagine what is going to happen here. Distinguished ladies and gentlemen, this is a lecture that will cause a lot of transformations in this nation once we are done with it. And I think the Vice Chancellor, to have come up with this idea in the first instance, deserves a round of applause. Please let's put our hands together for her. And I would not want to preempt also what will happen. For that reason, I would like to quickly recognize dignitaries in our midst. And I'm starting recognizing the transformational leader, a man whose vision in the last 5 years has taken this university a top-notch higher. A man who has placed this university on the map of the world, given its remarkable achievements in the last 5 years. Distinguished ladies and gentlemen, please let's put our hands together for the Vice Chancellor, Professor Adesegun Olayiwola Fatusi. Each time he tells you and you are praising him that he has done this, he will tell you he cannot do it alone, that he has a team. And wherever he goes, you find his team with him. He's a firm believer in together, everyone achieves more. So it's not surprising that he has very capable hands around him. I also want to recognize this morning the Deputy Vice Chancellor of Academics, a woman that combines brain with beauty and who has been a strong support to the Vice Chancellor from day one, Professor Rose Angela Nwuba. Please round of applause. It does not matter your age or wherever you are coming from. Once you are a person of excellence, once you are somebody who has quality to offer, you will find such an individual around the Vice Chancellor. I introduced to us this morning our vibrant and very intelligent registrar, Mr. Imoleayo Adeniran. Yesterday somewhere we were discussing that in the university you actually require a very good bursar who has strong bargaining power and who can manage resources effectively. And after our discussion, when all was said and done, we looked at the man and we said, this man has actually delivered. And he has what it takes to actually be the bursar of any university, not just in Nigeria, but all over the world. I introduced to us this morning Mr. MSO Shitu, the bursar of this university. If today is the World Book Day. Whosoever manages that section of the university must be on top of his game at all times. And this university also is blessed with someone who knows his onions, who understands how library should look like and should be in 21st century. And is a man of many titles, but for the purpose of this discourse, I will not mention so many of those titles for another occasion. I recognize this morning the university librarian, Dr. Adebambo Oduwole. Our guest lecturer is seated, but will reserve his introduction to a later time, and we are going to do it in a unique manner. Please permit me for time to use as a point of contact for all deans today, Professor Asuzu, the grandfather of all of us in this school. That is the Dean of Postgraduate School. I also want to use Professor Augustina Duyelemi as a point of contact to all directors in the university. You know, she's seated somewhere. Thank you very much, ma'am. I recognize all the HODs, members of staff here present today, students, and the gentlemen of the press. They've been here from the beginning. And without all of you, what we are doing here today will be a mirage. Can we please put our hands together for ourselves? Without any further ado, distinguished ladies and gentlemen, I said this is a special one. Along the line, with the permission of the Vice Chancellor, we are going to do some sort of twist. Normally when we come for lecture, we listen to lecture and then we go away. But today's is different. And therefore, you permit us that we are going to do some twist in between that will also benefit all of us as we progress. While we await that, please let's put our hands together as I bring to this side of the divide the Vice Chancellor, Professor Adesegun Fatusi, to welcome us formally to this event.
Thank you very much, the PRO, the Deputy Vice Chancellor Academic, Professor Rosangela Nwuba, the Registrar, Mr. Imoliayo Ezekiel Adeniran, the Bossa, Mr. MSO Shitu FCA, the Librarian, Dr. Adebambo Oduwole, and our Chairman Committee of Deans. Let me again use you as a point of contact for all our Deans, Professor Ezekiel Taiwo Adebayo, all our directors, all our head of departments, all our staff, both academic and non-academic, our students, and very especially our distinguished lecturer for today, Mr. Martin OLOJA, the immediate past managing director and editor-in-chief of The Guardian and fellow Nigerian Guild of Editors. Good morning. It's a great pleasure for me to welcome you this morning. I have a prepared speech, but I'm asking myself, should I just read my speech or I just speak to you? But let's start with reading my speech. Indeed, it's a distinct pleasure for me to welcome you this morning to the 11th distinguished lecture of our university, proudly Nigeria's first specialized medical and health sciences university. The annual lecture or university lecture is truly a very unique occasion and a platform to deal with some very important issues, not only ones that confront university system, but also the ones that deal with the bigger system of our country and sometimes the global dimension of the life we live in. Today's lecture is particularly unique, as you have heard. It is coming not just in my final weeks. I think now I'm counting hours to go. It is coming in my final week as the Vice Chancellor of this university. In the last couple of days, I've had time to reflect again and again on the journey we have taken in the last 5 years. And even as I started doing that, and knowing that my transition from this university is not a transition out of the system, but rather to go back to another element in the system. One of the questions that's been bothering my mind, and I've been engaging us in the management, is about the university system itself. How can the system become better? How can the system live up to its reputation? How can the system become truly a light in a nation that is simply seem to be grouping darkness? How can we become the touchstone for a transformed future? Those are the kind of questions we have been grappling with on our side. And for many of you might be have been part of our 10th anniversary lecture. You remember the lecture given by Professor Bamtale Omole talking about the Levitian Debeku. How do you move the Leviathan in an age, how do you improve university, which is like a Leviathan organism in an age of government backsliding? That was the title he was looking at. And he spoke to us a lot. But that discourse is not final. It's a discourse we need to continue to engage in, because we must begin to ask ourselves and continuously, is this the way to go? Are there new pathways? And are there things that we can do differently? And sometimes, the best way to look at yourself is to get outsiders who are objective, who are truly knowledgeable, to help you do an x-ray of the system. And today we are privileged to have Mr. Martin OLOJA. Of course, if you talk about flagship of the newspaper system in Nigeria, particularly in terms of intellectual content, the Guardian stands in the class. And we are glad to have someone of his stature, former MD of Guardian, fellow of Nigeria Guild of Editors, and a man who has shown tremendous interest in the way the Nigerian university system is going. Many of us must have followed his articles. I remember somebody shared this on the platform of the academic group, talking about, one of them was talking about national universities without federal characters. and a number of other ones have more or less tried to probe and analyze and deal with some of the rot in our system and provide some solution. And so we must ask ourselves, how do we, as a university community, move forward in a time like this? How can we consciously embrace the challenge that faces us as a nation and grow stronger? In the midst of challenges, it is considered expedient that all hands must be on deck to find a solution to the challenge of national development, particularly in what is called the VUCA world, volatile, uncertain, complex, and ambiguous world. In that dimension, we do know that as a university, we are a place that appreciates what knowledge is and drive actions with knowledge. And therefore, we know that knowledge is crucial to navigate an increasing volatile, uncertain, complex, and ambiguous world, where the economy keeps on going down. Knowledge institutions like ours need to rise to the occasion through education and innovation. It cannot and it must not be business as usual. And like I said, as I look back these 5 years of my journey as a Vice Chancellor and see that these challenges that face us are perhaps far more enormous than many people imagine, I also do know, based on our experience, that even in that midst of challenges, universities can perform differently. Our experience in this university in the last 5 years has shown that even when there is paucity of fund, innovation can bring a lasting solution and can bring transformation. We have seen that over the last 5 years. But it is not something for a 5-year journey. It's something for a lifetime if our institution must continue to grow. And today, we have an opportunity to, again, reflect critically as our distinguished guest lecturer speak to us. Like I said, there's a whole speech here, but I would like to cut this short because of time. You know, one of the things you think about is, for example, what happens with the budget that we get as a university? how do you expect past optimal performance at the level of abysmal low funding? But what can we do to even make that little fund become more productive? And these are some of the issues that we have to deal with. The issue of governance, political interference is real, even in the setting we are. And therefore, when you bring all this together, it's not surprising that the best of Nigerian universities seem to be occupying the lower positions among top-ranking universities, even when we compare ourselves with many African countries. That narrative must change, not only just for the sake of ranking, but in tangible contribution to national development. What can we do differently? It is the search of what we can do differently that this 11th distinguished lecture is titled, Can the University Trigger National Development Amid Economic Challenges? As our lecturer attempts to answer this question, again, I welcome you all to this lecture, the 11th in the series of our university lecture, in an institution where for us, excellence are watchwords, and where the philosophy with which we have run in the last 5 years is excellence or nothing. I do hope that we'll take the lessons of this particular lecture to be a point of new reflections as we are about to enter the third regime of our universities. I therefore look forward not just to a stimulating lecture, but a lecture that can become the touchstone for a transformed future. Welcome, and God bless.
Thank you very much, sir. Please a round of applause for the Vice Chancellor. He has actually succeeded now in creating proper context for the lecture. That if you operate in this kind of world that is not only volatile, uncertain, complex, and then what? Ambiguous. It's only right for us to keep thinking outside the box and then find a way out of it. With the permission of the Vice Chancellor, we wanted to show you something before the lecture, but it is still downloading. We won't wait for it. It will then turn out to be the apogee of what you are here to do. You will still watch it before we leave. Sir, with your permission, may I please crave the indulgence of our guest lecturer. We'll go into the lecture now, and then we'll show us after his lecture, once we finish downloading the material. We present to you our guest lecturer, distinguished lecturer for today, Mr. Martins OLOJA, and we'll present his citation electronically. Now, sir, could you please stand as we present your citation electronically, after which you take over from there, sir.
Martins OLOJA is a distinguished journalist and media consultant with extensive experience in editorial leadership and public speaking. He has held prominent positions in several reputable Nigerian media organizations, including serving as the editor of the Guardian newspaper and as the managing director and editor-in-chief of the Guardian itself. His editorial expertise extends to his role as senior editor of The Source and a columnist for various publications, and presently he is Inside Stuff Weekly in The Guardian. A fellow of the Nigerian Guild of Editors and a member of the National Association of Black Journalists in the United States, OLOJA has made significant contributions to journalism in Nigeria. He has been a key figure on the Guardian editorial board, where he served as chief editorial writer, shaping public discourse on critical issues. OLOJA's academic background includes degrees from the Universities of Lagos and Liverpool, UK. He is not only a journalist, but also an acclaimed speaker, having delivered over 200 public lectures and keynote addresses on topics such as public policy, journalism, and leadership science. Notable engagements include his keynote on key issues in data and investigative journalism at Bayero University, Kano, and a convocation lecture at Adekunle Ajasin University in 2023. His consultancy work includes serving as a media affairs consultant to the UNDP during Nigeria's 2007 elections. OLOJA has received numerous accolades for his work, including the Nigerian Media Merit Awards in 1998 and 1999, as well as the Dames Columnist of the Year Award in 2017. In addition to his editorial roles, he has acted as an external examiner for the Nigerian Institute of Journalism from 2015 to 2019 and is a regular analyst on radio and television. His expertise has also been sought internationally, having served as an editorial consultant to South Africa's Broadcasting Corporation. OLOJA continues to be a prominent voice in Nigerian journalism, influencing both media practices and public policy discussions.
Thank you very much. I want to, we always start with this cliche, starting on existing established protocol. However, I would like to, before the protocol, I would like to recognize one of our ancestors, Professor Isuzu. He has written extensively. He has commented extensively, particularly at The Guardian. And there is a way we can call him a consultant columnist. He has written extensively, and we have been speaking. And I'm happy to see him in our university here. When we see elders like this, we are happy. And they actually build the reputation of institutions like this. Thank you very much, sir. And I consider it a great honor and privilege as a form of protocol to have been invited to give this lecture. And this is especially more so given the distinguished audience that we have this morning, as well as the eminent list of previous distinguished lecturers that I have seen. And I would like to thank the authorities of the university, of this premier university of medical sciences in Ondo State, specifically the chairman of the governing council, the vice chancellor, members of the council here present, members of the senate, the deans, heads of department, distinguished members of the academic and non-academic staff, and students for considering me worthy of this remarkable lecture. And first and foremost, I would like to salute the courage and vision of the former governor of Ondo State, Dr. Olusegun Mimiko, who had in 2014 looked into the seeds of time and seen the strategic importance of setting up this specialist university. If he is present here today, he should take a bow and thank God for the grace that propelled the founding of this pearl of inestimable value. Indeed, I think it's a jewel now. Reason? So most political leaders who want to set up universities in their domain say now, they always ask for a university of medical sciences because somebody saw this some years ago and began in Ondo State. And while I was reading through the draft of this paper on Monday, there was even a breaking news that the immediate past deputy president of the Senate, Senator Ovie Omo Agege, was celebrating an approval of the University of Medical Sciences in his constituency. This is the way people have taken this kind of university now. And you will recall that even when President Muhammadu Buhari was leaving office, he visited Ebonyi State. And among other things, he saw a University of Medical Sciences that the current Minister of Works had set up. And he looked at everything and told the then governor of Ebonyi State that he would not be able to manage this university. He took it over and made it a federal University of Medical Sciences. You will see David Umahi now, Minister of Works. He told him that now there are a few of them. We have in Oragoila, you have in Otukpo, you have everywhere. We cannot mention. Everybody wants this. So I think that we should hail the vision of the governor of Ondo State at that time, no matter what we feel about other things that he did. And it is gratifying to know that the vision of the founders has triggered the demand pool for these specialized universities. And it is what is more remarkable. The other day, I used meritocracy as a fundamental objective and directive principle of recruitment policy for the first two vice-chancellors so far, while decrying a national malaise of localizing recruitments of vice-chancellors. It was curious, incredible, but remarkable that the founders and the pioneer recruitments of vice-chancellors, it was curious and incredible, but remarkable that the founders and the pioneer governing council recruited Professor Friday Okonofwa, who is from Edo State, Nigeria, and also an erudite, academic from the Obafemi Awolowo University, Ile-Ife, from Edo State, and Nigeria, and also an erudite academic from Obafemi Awolowo University. Osun State as the pioneer vice-chancellor, it means that he was recruited on merit. Again, the owners of the university maintained that tradition when the outgoing vice-chancellor, Professor Adesegun Fatusi, was also appointed 5 years ago. He is also from Obafemi Awolowo University and hails from Ogun State, Nigeria. I'm aware that some scholars in and outside the university do not like this meritocratic policy. Some of them wrote to me when I used it as as part of contextual analysis of a national university. I know about that. So one of the critics wrote to me when I used that analogy in my column last month, but let us calm down, quote unquote. This is a university. It's a universal city that should promote merit and excellence within the context of national or federal character. What will happen, I would like to ask, if the visitor to the university who was sworn in for his organic term on Monday, February 24, 2025, advises the governing council to amend the necessary laws to allow a vice-chancellor from North America who can attract some robust funding? Anyway, why the answer to the last question on either federal or national or international character is blowing in the wind, let's go to the brass tacks for today's critical assignment. Discussion points on whether there is any nexus between the university education and national development at such a time like this, when the economy is looking curiously stupid. A corollary to the discussion point should be whether the founders and sponsors of universities actually realize that there should be a correlation between quality in education and development of any country. That is what we would like to examine, whether they know. I believe that there are all, from the vice-chancellor to the least in this place, is a public officer. We are all citizens and stakeholders. And I would like to say that this is not a lecture for us to enjoy or anything. It's the core message. It's a signal and it's a message to the people who own the universities. It's not for us to enjoy whatever we are discussing here, for them to know that there should be some nexus between quality that we fund well, very well, and development. So let us go. As if emanating from effects of some benevolent spiritual forces, The plethora of recent comments in the last few weeks concerning the state of education in the country seem to have demonstrated a reawakened consciousness about the value of proper education, and also reiterated the urgency to embark upon some radical reconstruction of the foundation of education. Even the federal government, the sole regulator of standards and admissions into tertiary institutions in the country, is speaking in tongues about the age for admissions. Besides, there have been discussions and controversies over cutoff points from matriculation and post-matriculation examinations. What is more, there is a renewed debate about policies and politics of recruitment into governing councils and administrations of the public universities, as it appears in this regard that politicians in the university system are beginning to compromise standards and extant rules of engagements that are embedded in the enabling laws. For instance, the visitor to a federal university in Abuja, I didn't mention the university, we can follow, to a federal university in Abuja just invoked his powers to cancel an appointment of a vice chancellor, and allegedly compromised governing council imposed on the university without following the due process of appointments into the office of chief executive officer of the university. It was clear that the young professor, the strange council hurriedly imposed on the 37-year-old university, had barely 2 years of professorial experience. Many of us may not have followed the facts, but that was what happened at the university. The candidate, who was also then the acting vice chancellor on her own, had the kangarooic Senate meeting to replace the in-house members of the council who were not going to participate in the perversion of a process to declare her winner. The candidate should not have participated in the process of the selection of the University Council Selection Committee. She allegedly collaborated with the council chairman, who hails from her state, to select the members of the selection committee that scored her 95%. Without appropriate academic qualifications. In fact, the dismissed vice chancellor, I don't know whether to call that person vice chancellor now because of what happened, so I quoted it here. After only 2 months in office, was appointed deputy vice chancellor, academic, before she bagged her 2 years professorial experience we referred to. We're trying to just deconstruct the way things are happening in the university system now, where we are trying to get quality in education. With this kind of foundation, quality in education to trigger development. We can only imagine how the immediate past vice chancellor of the National University in Abuja apparently subverted the system to impose so many other unqualified academic and non-academic officers in the university. Let me also reveal here that the dismissed chairman of the governing council of the university in Abuja is a retired Air Force officer who was not in the Nigerian Defense Academy or Nigerian Defense College. So this is just a phase of what the university system has turned to. And it has turned to another, it is our turn syndrome, our local, in the location of university. You can see what is happening everywhere now. They just did one. The federal government just confirmed one in Delta State as I was walking in here as a breaking news. The person who came first in the selection process and a professor of the core value of the university in Delta State came first through KPMG and others, has been ignored. And this is you will get the details later. Okay, I said this is just the chairman of the governing council of the National University I was talking about in Abuja never served in a Nigerian Defense Academy or anywhere, but he just We're just trying to advise government on the recruitment process into the governing council. It shouldn't be just an ordinary thing. That's what we are saying to the authorities. To be chairman of governing council of a university. I thank God our own is not like that here. That the chairman of our governing council is a professor of a medical discipline. And let us clap for that. Meanwhile, when the Federal University in Abuja was established in 1988, the founding vice chancellor was Professor Isa Mohammed, a professor of mathematics who hailed from Bauchi State. I'm trying to look back into what the university system used to be. Professor Isa Mohammed, who was the founding vice chancellor of the University of Abuja, was at the University of Calabar, person from Bauchi State. At the time they brought him to establish the University of Abuja in 1988. And we went to get the young ones who are in the hall to listen, because they do not understand history. And they do not understand that we had a country and we had a system that worked. So, is it possible today for anyone with the name Isa Mohammed to apply to be Vice Chancellor, University of Calabar? At the time we are contextually reporting, the University of Benin had an Adamu Beike as Vice Chancellor. Let's recall that an Ogbomoso-born Professor Emmanuel Ayandele was the pioneer Vice Chancellor of the University of Calabar that we're talking about. Ayandele from Ogbomoso, and nobody protested this kind of thing. Maiduguri is a Calabar. Maiduguri there is a devil's printer. Professor Cyril Agoda Onwumejili is on record as the first non-indigenous Vice Chancellor of Obafemi Awolowo University, Ile-Ife. He reportedly applied from the University of Nigeria, Nsukka. Professor Oladipo Olujimi Akinkugbe from Ondo City was in University of Ilorin and Ahmadu Bello University at a point in time. We should recall that the pioneer VC, who was pioneer principal of University College Ibadan, he was later to be the Vice Chancellor of the University of Ibadan, was Professor Kenneth Dike. Apparently from the southeast, that also produced an Eniojoku at the University of Lagos, where there had been a Kwaku at the devil, which doesn't sound like a Nigerian name. I just want to use these old stories, as I was talking to the old ones, these old stories to illustrate that the few universities of the time had academic standards that attracted students from all over the world. Doubtless, there was internationalization of university education at the time. Graduates of these universities were admitted to direct doctorate in world-class universities abroad. One of them I know, who graduated in 1976 with a 5.0 GPA from the University of Ife's Department of Electrical Electronics, hails from Ondo City. His name is Anthony Adebulube. Let's clap for him. He's a professor of energy management system. He had his PhD in MIT, Boston, Massachusetts. He was among those who benefited from the University of Ife scholarships in those days. One other person I know, Dr. Goke Adegoroye, who's retired in 2010 as a federal permanent secretary, hails from Akure in Ondo State. He also enjoyed a university scholarship as best graduating student too in agriculture. He obtained his PhD in the university in Canada. He's also from Ondo State. Ondo State has been producing good scholars. So I just use these two examples as products of the system that young ones should not feel that what is happening now is Nigeria. This is not the way we are. And we are going to get out of it by the grace of God. I just use this one as the opening statement to actually underscore the fact I was making when I hailed the initiative of the former governor who established this university. I am aware of people who were not happy with the way I did it, but this is not who we are. We are Nigerians, and even those of us in Yoruba land, and the way young ones, I want you to listen. When the late Obafemi Awolowo established University of Ife, it's an Ijebu man. He did not put the university near Ijebu land. And he established a university when he saw that the University of Ibadan wasn't deep in physical sciences as University of Agriculture. And I understand from the legends that have worked with, including Professor Wale Omole, who is still the chairman of the Guardian editorial board, that University of Agriculture is still big at the University of Ife because it was supposed to be the core value, like tropical agriculture and tropical health sciences or whatever that meant. So all these things were happening and we had standards, but we are deviating from it. So let the governing authorities, and this is the reason for this lecture, let the governing authorities and those who desire development, let the governing authorities and those who desire development to know, let them note this. Throughout the development of humanity, especially in the recent period, when the knowledge economy is in choice of most countries, education plays a vital role as a key factor and a driving force for economic development. We'll see the reasons later. Education and training are not only prerequisites for economic development, but they also contribute to social political stability. And finally, education and training that contributes to raising the Human Development Index anywhere. Studies on economic growth have long recognized that human capital is important to economic growth and that education is the primary way to accumulate human capital that we desire. It's the quality of the people who run a system that will determine how far the system will go. Even if it is an enterprise, a small enterprise. And I have always used, even when I commented on a book that was a controversial book that was launched a few weeks ago, I used Real Madrid to talk to Arise News when they interviewed me. That really there are some things that you can get from certain system or from certain book or the author of the book, that the quality will determine economic development of Real Madrid or anything. I mentioned that if you want a company or a university or anything or a community like Real Madrid as a football team, it's a company, get your Mbappe. Get your Rodrigo. Invest in your Mbappe, invest in your Rodrigo, invest in your Bellingham, and invest. What are we talking about? So we can enjoy those things like that, but we should study such models as business models. If you want success, if you want economic development, invest in the very best. If you don't have an Mbappe, you see what they actually did when they set aside the great Man City. Mbappe scored 3 goals. It is not just Mbappe, he should have been, he's a Cameroonian by origin. But look at what he's doing. Rodrigo, Bellingham, Vinicius Jr. So I think authorities need to know that you can't be champions of Europe 15 times without investing in the very best. People who have Ballon d'Or, they end up, everybody wants to get to Real Madrid because when you get there, look at the Endrick, the young one they just got in. Look at small boy, he's still not up to 20. but it's already performing wonder and is proud that it's there. So I believe that we should look at this model. I won't read everything. I will speak to some of the theoretical framework and some of the things we quote here. So you see that studies on economic growth has long recognized that human capital is important to economic growth and that education is the primary way to accumulate human capital. Major challenges and major changes in economic structures, industries, and international labor markets have resulted in a demand for rapid knowledge development as well as flexibility and career mobility for individuals. The accumulation of knowledge and technological development make individual workers more flexible in adapting to new careers. Therefore, integrated labor skills and competencies are necessary conditions for workers to succeed in today's workplace. And this can be achieved through being educated and trained. A theorist and a scholar, like Peter Drucker, nobody even knows whether he's alive or when scholars are scholars like that. You don't know when they die. When they are dead, people don't remember to put late. Peter Drucker establishes that where we are now will be for knowledge workers. Are we not there? It's for knowledge workers. So higher education is a production chain whose output is qualified human resources, serving as a foundation for forming and developing the innovative capacity to serve the country's development and contribute to human knowledge. Based on such a view, in addition to developing the higher education system to meet learning needs of the society, higher education needs to enhance the position of higher education institutions with others in the region around the world. It is what they do. You know, there are so many of such things here. We can't read everything about education and sustainable development. You see some scholars I have quoted that have established the correlation between quality and economic development. You will see everything here. I'm talking to scholars who have, I don't need to read some of these things. You will see the correlation I also established in the role of higher education in national development. You see it here from all those page 7. Well, I think we have to go over them. We can't read everything. Higher education and human resources. This one is very important. Say humanity has entered a 4.0 era. Knowledge has become the most important factor for economic development through the ability to improve labor productivity, which is considered a competitive advantage of the century, as another scholar, Michael Porter, established this even in 1990. The shift of society towards a knowledge-based economy shows that knowledge drives economic growth and development. You will see so many of such things like that. Higher education and economic growth. We have seen that, but you will see so many scholars who have established such correlation between development, quality in education and development. And quality is not just something that we talk about. People should be seen, as I've referred to, a period in Nigeria when learning was learning, when scholars were scholars, when vice chancellors were vice chancellors, that they chose from merit. Those are at the times we are talking about. So, however, in recent years, environmental degradation with a global shortage of resources has posed an unprecedented and severe threat to human development. What happened? This threat has raised people's awareness of the need to protect the environment. In this case, the limitations of traditional GDP has become apparent. On the one hand, human economic activities have positively impacted society by creating wealth. On the other hand, similar activities have brought about adverse effects by hindering the development of society productivity in many ways. We see the person who says, so therefore, countries move towards green growth to overcome the disadvantages brought about by the traditional growth process. We will see this thing. I can't read everything. We'll see it. But you see, even in the world that is so digitized with social technologies that we use in learning now. And you will see, I gave a good example in this place to our authorities to note And I said this message is for the authorities and the owners of universities in Nigeria, including the private ones, who just establish universities by all these highways, that it is not just the signposts and not just the structures we will see there that we call a university. So you will see so many of these things. There, higher education and social issues. All of them are here. You will see all those things like that, and we come to brass tacks. But let me read this place. When we put all these things together, if human capital adds more marginal return to work than crime, then human capital investment and schooling should reduce crime. Therefore, you see now some people have closed down schools because of some religious right. Then we have come to a time when we shouldn't be afraid of the truth. And we shouldn't be afraid of what we call fault lines. No, we don't discuss religion. It will cause riot. We don't discuss ethnicity. It will cause riot. We don't discuss this. No, this is 21st century. If we must make progress, we should regard truth as something we can't hide in a grave anymore, because it will come out. It will be, you will see the consequences of the decisions that we take today. So we should speak to our leaders at all levels, that all these things they are promoting will not lead to economic development, that they should invest in education in a very robust manner, and can choose between funding. You know, we say that, therefore, strategies to improve schooling or schooling efficiency should reduce most types of street crime and are more likely to be more tolerant of others than themselves. That's a scholar who said that. When you look at this one, people are saying now in our country that education is a scam, that you don't need it to be great. You don't need education again to be billionaire. You don't need education to be this thing. After all, we don't have job opportunities. And I think we need to tell our authorities not to allow social media messages that are promoting this kind of atrocities, as I can call it, to stand, because we need quality in education. So let us look at this correlation. Government can choose, I have left some of them, between funding the police force or quality public schools, which often creates a false positive correlation between education and crime. Alternatively, unobserved community characteristics may directly affect the costs or benefits of education and crime. Third, reverse causality is another important issue. Individuals who plan to be heavily involved in crime, for example, because they are particularly good at crime, enjoy crime, or live in areas with many illegal opportunities, they may choose to drop out of school at a young age. You know, some people we always give, they say, after all, Bill Gates didn't complete school. Who told us that? That all the people who are driving the big tech world now, that they didn't complete school. So why should I complete school? Let me go and be doing Yahoo or doing something that will give money. And this is the value that is driving our country. I got to one hotel. I saw, what did I see there? Energy drinks in their there. And they put the price there. They put the price there. I asked a question as a reporter. This is this week. Why do they sell only energy drinks? They say that's what the young ones who have money now to stay in this hotel, that's what they need. What do they need this thing for? The answer is blowing in the wind. So they are selling all these values. It is not true that education is not needed again, and that instead of funding education, good schools, that you see the budget for security, for defense, is usually the highest, but that should not drive our value. If you improve on the quality of graduates, it will reduce the quality it will reduce the quantity and the frequency of crime in a community. And we have seen pieces of evidence like that, but we can't dwell on that. Higher education, I say in addition, higher education is a measure of social distance between quantities. Some authors, you will see how some authors have deconstructed this. So you will see university autonomy and growth. Some people are talking about university autonomy. They say university autonomy, we get people to increase fees, to do all sorts of things like that. But, you know, until recently, some of our scholars will know that only the University of Buckingham was a private university in the United Kingdom. The public, all of them are public universities. Public. So government, and I believe that they will hear this one, they have a greater role in funding of education because they are the one holding the money that we can use to replace equipment, to equip this university. Nobody should come to say, let us privatize it so that we can find money. Government should be able to manage priorities to equip this kind of institution as a pioneer University of Medical Sciences. And they should hear that we shouldn't be afraid of talking to them. They need it. We go and say, the state should not cut the budget of autonomous universities, but on the contrary, should increase budget support for schools that successfully implement the policy of university autonomy, considering them as worthy places to focus on investing to quickly improve the quality of training, helping the schools soon become essential national schools. When it comes to increasing tuition fees, regardless of the country, public schools have a principle that tuition fees must be fair, creating learning opportunities for everyone. Therefore, the tuition fee is usually limited, not increasing indefinitely, but should be based on the average income of the people. There is a theorist for that. That's quoted here. Besides, when the labor market is increasingly expanding, human capital flight from one country to another is becoming a trend. You know, so many of our good ones have left the country because of the prevailing condition of even the teachers, the scholars, and they themselves as products. I wanted to start one debate, but a product of Luth, who is a professor of medicine now in one of the private universities in Abuja, stopped me. Whether the government, whether people can actually identify, because this is the right place to start that debate, but I will not give details, how much it costs to train a medical doctor. Can anybody quantify? We discussed an issue like that at the editorial board of The Guardian. So I wanted to make inquiry. So the person told me that the person is also, the father of that person is a professor from University of Lagos. That if I started this debate, if I begin to collect data on this issue, how much it takes to train a medical doctor in a medical school, government is going to use it negatively, so I abandoned it. I've kept it for another time. What I'm trying to say is that people who own this kind of specialized universities should note that it is not enough to answer the visitor. It is not enough to answer to be commissioner for education or all those things. They should look at what it takes to equip a medical school. They should look at what it takes to equip a technology engineering department, what it takes to establish a computer science department. I'll give an example here. Maybe when I get there, I may skip it. That in 2018, Google Global was looking for artificial intelligence center in West Africa. Artificial intelligence center. They were looking for a department, a school of computer science or computer engineering to host artificial intelligence. We had more than 200 universities at the time. They went around this country, this is our country, they couldn't find a well-equipped universities. There is an example. I gave the examples here, and the number of schools, when they got to Ghana, they found one. That is the reason Artificial Intelligence Center of Google in West Africa is in Ghana today. And our authorities should note this and ask questions. Why? What happened to all these computer science departments we have all over the country, and this computer engineering school? And this is why I said this message is not for the teachers. It's for the employers of teachers. So it is required. So it is required that higher education make breakthroughs in reforming training forms to meet competitiveness and adapt to particular circumstances. And you see it, and so on and so forth. And when we look at all these things, I now ask a question. Where do we go from where Wole Soyinka once lamented? I have been talking to the ideas on how to get to where we need to be in 21st century, where education is fast changing the dynamics of development. So the policy experts and scholars here and all of us need to understand that founding for founders and funding a university isn't for the faint-hearted. Visitors who hold the fort for the public universities constantly claim that they don't have enough to fund education the way we want it in the same 21st century. In other words, if we look into the seeds of our education development times, what we will see now is that education sector here at home isn't good, and governments are only declaring emergencies whenever they want to hold general elections. They declare emergency, say we have declared emergency on education, and it ends on that piece of paper. So we are talking at a time when most education leaders are again suggesting policies that will take us to where we can internationalize higher education again. That was the theme of my convocation lecture at the Adekunle Ajasin University, Ondo State, in December 2023. But from the way we daily read from the book of Lamentation about funding of higher education at this time of economic crisis, where we will get on the road to internationalization, the answer is still blowing in the wind. Isn't it a time to interrogate Professor Wole Soyinka's suggestion some years ago about the expediency of closing down all the Nigerian universities for a year or two with a view to restructuring them into ivory towers, citadels of learning and centers of innovation that they should be at this time? I had asked a similar question at the Akungba 2023 lecture, but the answer will continue to blow in the wind. Again, this paper, as I said, as we are winding down, this paper is not a seminar paper on the role of university in a developing country, nor is it a research topic on the role of public intellectuals in development. Rather, it's a thought-provoking discussion point on why all our representatives in government, all our duty bearers should halt the hollow rituals called licensing of new private universities and the federal university's own obsession with political projects called federal universities in all the states of the federation. This is a time to tell them to pay attention to better, listen to this, attention to pay attention to better rather than more universities. Better rather than more universities whose products cannot, that is more universities whose products cannot contribute to national development, no thanks to poor funding. It's a time to call on the elders of the land, notably those that had enjoyed the good old days in this same country when universities were universities, to support a motion that government at all levels should stop all priority projects and declare genuine emergency on education with a view to investing in them consciously and sincerely. This means there had been a good time here when even some Americans were applying to read even English at the University of Ibadan. as I have noted in some presentations, in 2008, an African American in Miami, Florida, who claims to be a classmate of now Professor Gordini, I met her. Immediately I was introduced to her as a journalist from Nigeria. I went for an international conference. He said, from Nigeria? I said, do you know Gordini Dara? I said, yes, he was at the time chairman of our editorial board. He said he was my classmate at the University of Ibadan, where I had come all the way in those days from the United States to read English. A woman, she was at that time president of a university in Miami, Florida. She came all the way to read English from a not from UK, not in UK, not in the United States there, not in Canada, not in New Zealand, among other English-speaking countries. So what are we talking about? So she gave me a note to give to Professor Gigi Dara, who many of us know, because Professor Gigi Dara was her classmate at the University of Ibadan. So I said that was internationalization at the Nigerian's premier university college. When an American could hear about a great university without the internet, there were stories of foreign students in the universities of the first generation when there was indeed a universe in the universities. How do we regain the paradise lost when we can be part of the universe again? The answer is blowing in the wind. The highway universities without universe. What is more horrible now, what we see, is a situation whereby most Nigerian universities have become mere factories for producing unemployable graduates at all levels. All the major highways have become attractions for private universities, most of which are just for ways of laundering money for some crooks who can no longer hide such slush and stolen funds abroad because of the danger in illicit money transfer that we have in Nigeria now, like a financial intelligence unit. They monitor people, so everywhere now, you obtain license, you get something. But sadly, most of the lecturers of the universities cannot allow their children to be admitted to those universities where they teach. I know many of them who will still have to struggle through thick and thin to send their words abroad, and to some good ones at the national level where real learning takes place. Oh, you know, somebody may want to tell me here that, but some private universities are getting rating. You know, it is not about rating. It is about quality. Quality is quality. Quality is quality. We are not saying that some private universities are not doing well. They are doing well. But most of them, as we have found out, are not doing well. And what we are saying is not to berate and to denigrate those institutions and people who teach there just like that. We are talking about our country. We are talking about the future of our country. That's why we are telling the authorities that they should not be using such ratings. Sometimes when Fitch rating, they say they have rated the inflation rate has come down. This one has come down, but when you look at circumstances around you, you haven't seen any change. So I think that let us reflect on this classic, and our leaders should take this one home. According to Gasset in 2005 on the mission of the university, why university must be primarily the university, profession and science. This is important for our leaders, policymakers, and university owners. The university consists primarily and basically of higher education which the ordinary man should receive. It is necessary to make this ordinary man, first of all, a cultured person, to put him at the height of the times. It follows then that the primary function of the university is to teach the great cultural discipline, namely the physical scheme of the world, which is physics, the fundamental themes of organic life, which is biology, the historical process of the human species, history, the structure and functioning of social life, sociology, the plan of the universe, philosophy. So it is necessary to make the ordinary man a good professional. Besides his apprenticeship to culture, the university will teach him by the most economical, direct, and efficacious procedures, intellect can survive to be a good doctor, a good judge, a good teacher of mathematics or of history. So what we are saying from this framework of theory is that our people should not just be looking at the certificates we give to people. The certificates is supposed to produce a total human being. It's supposed to produce somebody who can stand on his own. We are beginning to see from our NYSC registration camps that some people who have degree certificates cannot register successfully in our country, and we are just turning them out, we're giving out certificates. This is horrible about the most populous black nation on earth. We should be the most populous, and we are the most populous, and people should be visiting our universities for culture and learning. That's what we mean. It is necessary, and the specific character of this professional teaching must be set aside. However, for further discussion, whether is it local or glocal, local or glocal, glo and local, glocal, the university should be equipped enough to play its primary role of turning the ordinary man to be what he wants to be, professional. But can the university play this role today in this age of digital technologies? We can't. And that is why the Artificial Intelligence Center of Google has since 2018 been in Ghana. I have explained that, and I have to get out of there and say, where will development flow from when your universities aren't producing young engineers that are helping the Trump administration, like those ones helping, you may see in the social media, people are berating this ex-man, people, Elon Musk. But just read the details. The young ones helping him to mine data on the bureaucracy. Most of them are under 20 and a little above 20, but they are wizards. They are uncovering large-scale corruption in the bureaucracy. You see some tendencies, some ideologues, and some people who have certain ideologies. We're going to say that Trump is a madman. Trump, we have a way. If you watch the global networks, you will never find credit to whatever is good that they are doing. They say, look, I want to put America first. Let us find somebody who wants to put Nigeria first by investing in quality in our education. Before we berate these people, watch. I want you to get into this plethora that we find here to get the profile of those young ones working with him. They are scientists. They are young technologists, but they know what they are doing. They uncovered so many things, and I think we should have a thing like that. So I believe that where I said, we are like a giant in the sun. Where will development flow? And I said that when our universities are producing young engineers that are helping the Trump administration to disrupt the very corrupt bureaucracies of the United States through the independent Department of Government Efficiency that the globalists and public enemies don't want to see in the United States. Again, where are our leaders at all levels, including the state and national assemblies, at this crucial time? See, when we talk about our leaders, we have the most important institution, and I am quoting authorities. The most important institution in the democracy is the National Assembly. And you see so many professors that have done studies on that because they are the ones that make the laws from which policies flow. They are the ones who have oversight power to even query the office of the president. They control the Auditor General of the Federation. After confirmation by the same National Assembly, the president cannot direct Auditor General of a good nation. And even our laws make the Auditor General to report only to the committees on public accounts. So the National Assembly is critical to the politics and policies that will make funding tolerable in this place. And that is why I'm calling on them at all levels. What are our leaders at all levels, including the states and national assemblies at this level? What are they doing? What are our leaders and representatives concerned about? Why are they concerned about only the next election without caring a hoot about the next generation of leaders who are supposed to be products of our universities? Are the suffering, malnourished, and ill-equipped students of today not going to be the leaders of tomorrow? How many of the more than 200 million people will have the resources to send their children to good schools abroad, so-called good schools abroad, as our leaders are apparently doing? Are our leaders aware that most of our university lecturers in science and technology schools are relocating abroad in search of greener pastures? Does the education minister tell the president and some labor ministries arrogant negotiators with ASU members that most serious nations, especially some in Nordic countries, pay teachers better than other public officers because they believe that only satisfied teachers can produce better graduates? You see, sometimes when they negotiate, we hear a labor minister say, let the doctors go. We have enough to replace them. Is it true? Is it the truth, as some Rotarians will ask, that you can easily find medical doctors that will replace experienced ones that are going abroad? So it means that they are not telling our leaders the truth, because it is not true. Are our leaders aware that most of our university lecturers in science and technology schools, they are going abroad? Aren't they aware that the United States, which is still proud of its exceptionalism on all fronts, public officers, including policymakers, are still concerned about the fact that their American students are well outside the top 10 international student ranking in reading, science, and mathematics, apart from the nation's position of leadership on everything from the economy to the military to issues of moral authority? That America is, even with where they are not resting. They are still complaining that they are not at the top, even though they are at the top. Their scholars are telling public policy makers and the leaders that we are not where we should be. And they are there, everybody is running after them, but they say that they are still running after something. Here is why. They are beginning to argue that their rating will continue to plummet unless we take dramatic action. As Millery, a former chancellor of Washington, D.C. public schools from 2007 to 2010, now a driving force behind American education reform, has already written a classic on this development titled Radical: Fighting to Put Students First. The founder and CEO of Students First has drawn attention to the fact that although the United States is well known as a world leader in innovation, boasting of brilliant thinkers and trend-setting companies, yet there is a fact that that status is at grave risk because American children are getting outside the top 10 international student ranking. So come with me to Southeast Asia. We have a few minutes to end. The power behind Samsung, a global brand in South Africa, with a population of about 5.7 million. They have more than Samsung to export to the world because of the power that quality education that they take seriously has given them. They are among the top 5 countries with excellence in research and development. Funding in research and development funding in global context. That is their power. You can make the same claim of Singapore. The economic power of Singapore isn't tied to any extractive industry. It is only linked to their intellectual power. Yes, their brain power through education quality, their legend, Lee Kuan Yew, bequeathed to them. There are more examples of these powerful countries. How many times shall we write that there is a nexus between the economic power of South Africa and the quality of its universities? It is not by accident that the best university in Africa in all global ratings is the University of Cape Town. In all global ratings. Is it not also true that of the top 10 universities in Africa, most of the times when they do their ratings, 6 to 8, sometimes are in South Africa? Where are we? Why? What are we saying? Isn't it about setting up technical universities, agric universities, medical science universities, maritime universities, police and army universities that are underfunded and equipped? What are we going to get from there? We just name them, we just set them up. What are we going to get? This isn't about the number of graduates in the country. It is about the quality of graduates. It's about the capacity of graduates to solve 21st century challenges in this age of high-tech digital disruptors. This is why the Tinubu government should note that although we are aware of what his administration is doing to contain the danger of insurgency and banditry in the core northern states, we can't easily forget about what the previous administration made of Nigeria's human capital development, the previous administration. But what we are saying, what the messages we are sending to the authorities is that they are doing that. And they are talking about student loan, and they are giving it now, they are celebrating it. We are giving loan to students to learn under this kind of conditions that we have been feeling. It's not enough. It's good, but not enough. And they should do more than student loan. We will give student loans to all these universities, learning what? So the teachers know what they are learning and what they are missing. So that is what we are saying, that the current administration at federal and state levels should be told that what I will continue to repeat, the story that I have told many times about what any powers need to destroy any country. What is it? Yes, a South African teacher has said that you don't need an atomic bomb to destroy any country. And accordingly, according to the teacher, all you need to do for the collapse of a country is destroying its education standards. He says the following words, posted by a teacher at that entrance of the South African university. He says this: destroying any nation does not require the use of atomic bombs or the use of long-range missiles. It only requires lowering the quality of education and allowing cheating in the examinations by the students. The result is that patients die at the hands of doctors, buildings collapse, at the hands of engineers, money is lost, at the hands of economies and accountants that are poorly produced. Humanity dies at the hands of religious scholars. Justice is lost at the hands of judges who are poorly trained, because the collapse of education is the collapse of the nation, unquote. And here is the conclusion of the whole matter. President Tinubu should immediately direct his education ministers to swallow his pride and vanity and resolve the ASU federal government avoidable conflict now or never. It has become a symbol of suffering and shame to the federal government and state governments. Here is the thing. There should be a national summit on education, administration, and funding for development. There should be no excuses about economic downturn or crisis. Some members of the National Assembly appropriation committees were aware of the economic crisis the other day when they allegedly asked vice chancellors of federal universities to drop some millions of naira to get their budget details approved. As a stakeholder in this state, I'm a stakeholder in this state. I am from this state. Don't ask me where I come from. But as a stakeholder, listen to what I would like to suggest to our own duty bearers. As a stakeholder in this state, I confirmed before that once upon a time, an artful and enterprising son to a governor of this state, who was later hired as Director General in the state bureaucracy, was collecting 6% tax on all students' incidental fees as part of state revenue collection mechanism. That was a disastrous policy, and revenue collection blight on higher education in this state. May that spectre of darkness not fall on this state again. This was happening to institutions that actually need more money to survive. How many of the now 4 universities, I'm told, how many of the 4 universities in this state are on their permanent sites? This is therefore a clarion call on the newly sworn-in governor of Ondo State, who is the visitor to all the 4 universities, to take special interest in the state of school facilities and quality of teachers in basic and secondary schools. Besides, he should be audacious in revisiting a special panel's report on the old 3 universities. He should not play politics with quality of education in per-adjacent state. Our state, let the sun shine well on oversight and funding of education at all levels in the sunshine state. And here is why. Our leaders should intentionally and unapologetically prioritize education quality. As our leaders put on their thinking caps on what to do with our apparent underdevelopment, they should remember that, first, that education quality, not quantity, that can deliver sustainable development goals, including war on multi-dimensional poverty and civic incompetence. We notice all over the place. Our civic incompetence is the only reason our leaders become dealers, and we hail them for misusing our public funds with all their strength. Our leaders need to beam our discussion points now on the need to focus on better universities instead of establishing more that will not produce employable graduates in public and private sectors. Seriously speaking, I believe that better universities can produce excellent models and modules that can address our rickety development agenda. And I say, as I was saying, this is not a seminar paper. It's just a critical role of quality. It is just a paper on the critical role of quality of education and development. But we have been following a simple trend that is showing that there is some nexus between the quality of universities and development of very well-known countries. I mean that we have seen that the countries that have had the best universities and research orientation and funding are simply the best and the fastest growing economies in the world. We are talking about the United States, China, Japan, Germany, South Korea, France, India, United Kingdom, Russia, Canada, Brazil, etc. Within the context of global rating in Africa, we have South Africa, Botswana, Mauritius, Egypt, etc. that can boast of better universities now than Nigeria. This is a tragedy for the giant of Africa that used to have one of the best 4 universities and even teaching hospitals in the Commonwealth countries, including United Kingdom, Canada, Australia, Singapore. I'm talking about University of Ibadan. We had. I'm not too young. I may have a baby face, but I'm not a baby. I have seen what University of Ibadan. I have read what it used to be, the University College Hospital, what it used to be. The royalty in Saudi Arabia or some other places in Africa used to come here. But now we are talking about generator at the university to even be able to work in that same university. And I think we shouldn't joke with this kind of treatment to an institution of higher learning like that. And also hospital. I believe that we are talking about, no, it is instructive to note from some peer-reviewed academic research paper that many universities, especially in southern and eastern African countries, are making progress when academic excellence comes into focus. A research report titled Universities and Economic Development in Africa by Nico Clough, Trace Bailey, Pondi Pillen, and so on and so forth in 2011 illustrates this point. You will see the illustration here. So, and I think you will see some of these examples that I have given here. I will skip some of them, but we need a policy environment, and we can't ignore that. We need a policy environment that recognizes that at the moment, learning is the only sustainable competitive advantage. Individually and collectively, there is therefore no doubt that we need better universities that will enable organizations to become deliberate and effective in learning. Unlearning and unlearning essential is learning, unlearning, and relearning are essential to progress. Nigerian university system with poor research funding and orientation has for some time now been producing what we can call sometimes, according to Alvin Toffler, the illiterates of the 21st century. And what does he say? The man says, the illiterate of the 21st century will not be those who cannot read and write, but those who cannot learn, unlearn, and relearn. So we should not be that, and the authorities should know that. Finally, it appears to some of us outside the system that Nigeria's academic community does not like audit queries, reforms, and accountability. The Oransaye panel report on the universities, which recommends that unwieldy bureaucracies that consume a larger chunk of their funds through complex and too much recurrent expenditure and unwholesome capital votes for academic work clearly shows no resistance to change. You know, the Oransaye panel's report, we in the media only portrayed as we did to Udoji report in those days that dwelled only on remuneration. Oransaye's report with verifiable data he collected from Central Bank and Ministry of Education clearly indicated that the federal government has been spending more money on non-academic activities and academic staff than academic activities and academic staff. I reported it for The Guardian as editor. So, but they did some, he suggested a number of things that are still in the report. Look for the report and you will see what I mean. In the section on education, it was on the section on rationalization of offices and officers that you see in Oransaye panel's report. You will see some of the details in this thing. So let's ponder over this. You know, in the system now, we have so many things. It's not only about government and all those things. But something is, there is a systemic problem. I say this. I said that the governance system in the current arrangement is not conducive for academic excellence. There are too many challenges of infrastructure in a new world driven by technologies. If we can't get artificial intelligence centers in a computer science schools, you know that it's a problem. Yes, we now research and learn in a brand new world, according to management expert Brett Stanley, that Bertie Stanley being the president and CEO of United Way of America, where we confront a future in which the change is ever more and rapid and unpredictable. That's where we are now. It's unpredictable, it's driven by technologies. But where do we have the equipment to teach people to fit into this century? Lest we'll be left behind, we need to ponder over this. Let's ponder over this. Any university system that will allow students to pursue a master's degree for 5 years, some of us, there are so many problems there. And a PhD for 10 years needs an urgent reform. The university is to prepare a global to prepare global citizens and oracles that can look into the seas of times and tell the people what tomorrow should be. It is education quality research that can deliver that. Therefore, Abuja and all the state capitals, big men, should not hold any summit on the need for declaration of emergency on education. Failure to deal with the university challenge will amount to covering up corruption at the highest level. And I say we should continue this conversation beyond this paper until something happens to the university system. The Soyinka's radical approach is not a bad idea, after all. Nigeria should have good universities that most Africans can come to as it was in the beginning. We need to look at how our distorted, convoluted federalism has impacted on quality of tertiary education in Nigeria. We need to look at how the few good public and private universities can be assisted, all those good ones can be assisted to be globally competitive so that they can assist urgent development by organizations and even government agencies to re-engineer or reinvent themselves to achieve more efficient and effective global orientations. Johns Hopkins University is the Center of Medical Excellence. But there's an act of parliament to continue to fund it to be the American Center of Medical Excellence. It's not like a UCH, but they have recognized it, and they continue to fund it like that. So you find out the origin of Johns Hopkins University. This is especially their medical, they are teaching hospitals. They are hospitals. They set up everywhere, but find out the origin. Government continues to support. That's what I was saying earlier, that government has a hand in quality of education at all levels. The Korea I was talking about, they have Ministry of Education and Ministry of Knowledge Development. They separate the two in South Korea. I have been there. I saw it. So government has a hand in the R&D or whatever. So, and what do we need to do? How can our universities be assisted to produce global citizens equipped for this high-velocity world? How can there be restoration of the University College Hospital Ibadan, which used to be part of the top 4 in the Commonwealth? There are experts who should contribute to this symposium so that Nigerian exceptionalism, our leaders always promise, will not be a mirage after all. And I feel that this is the summary and conclusion. You will see, I've talked about this South Korea and all these things. What did they do in South Korea and Singapore? I have enumerated that. Let us recall that most orators and motivational speakers may have been entertaining us with the story of a good man, a leader who inspired Singapore from third to first world, Lee Kuan Yew. It's always a good read, a wonderful biography of a significant Asian. But not many of our leaders may have studied some of the specific strategies. The very educated Asian, himself a first-class brain from UK, went to Harvard again, and they get geniuses to get married to geniuses, to produce more geniuses, like they do in this book. This is one of the reasons in the United States they are exceptional. They have a genius factory. Unraveling, a professor produced this, unraveling the mysteries of the Nobel Prize Sperm Bank. This is what they continue to do. He collected sperms from different Nobel laureates and exceptional children to be selling to people to produce more. So you cannot run away from exceptionalism. You can't run away from brightness. It is the thinkers in a country, in a particular place, that will make it to be unique, to be economically viable, to be a good brand. That's an example. This is what Lee Kuan Yew did. By anybody in the civil service is a first-class brain. Not just first-class certificate, first-class brain. Anybody can be prime minister there because of the few institutes you had that our civil service heads all over the country, they just left. They are just going to Lee Kuan Yew. They are going to Singapore now to learn how to run civil service in this place. With the number of universities we have, that orators will always do that, but not many of our leaders may have studied some of the specific strategies the very educated Asian employed to achieve this goal that have become a national and organizational culture in Singapore. It is important for us to note that the unique but least talked about strategy, Mr. Lee used, what Mr. Lee used was remarkable investment in education quality. I would like our governors, indeed the governor of Ondo State, to take this away as a major deliverable from this lecture. According to Stravos, we will find some of these things like that. Yonka of Project Syndicate, Lee Kuan Yew's achievements have been best of much global discussion before and since his death. But one aspect of his success, according to this man, which has been underreported, is his investments in education. His strategy, he will often remark, was to develop Singapore's only available natural resource, its people. That's what he said. Today, Singapore routinely ranks among the top performers in education attainment as measured by the very influential Organization for Economic Development, Cooperation and Development, OECD, and so on and so forth. So the summary and conclusion is this. Here is the conclusion of the matter after all. The battle for restoring the lost glory in higher education in Nigeria must be waged holistically. Thus, to improve the standard of education and her global competitiveness, Nigeria must first educate the educators and improve their level of psychological satisfaction. So, Nigeria should begin now to appreciate and reward excellence, poor working conditions, discussing talented youths from entering, dissuading, so to speak, dissuading talented youths from entering the teaching profession. Nigeria is capable of reversing the trend and produce enviable world-class scholars if leaders can sufficiently fund the schools, motivate the teachers and students by providing good teaching and learning environment, and create employment for the teeming population. Nigeria cannot benefit from the emerging global economy with the present poor state of the educational sector. The schools should be equipped with functional libraries and laboratories, and classrooms should have been modern instructional technologies, computers connected to the internet, projectors, audiovisual and video conferencing equipment, etc. Teachers should not be expected to perform miracles without the necessary teaching tools. Primary and secondary schools, which are the foundation of higher education, should be adequately funded and properly staffed. However, university admissions should be strictly on merit, and schools should offer relevant courses that prepare students for the challenges of the 21st century economy. Higher institutions should be granted full autonomy and allowed unfettered hands to source funds through private sector partnership. The government should motivate students by providing them a healthy learning environment, modern classrooms, and living quarters. Sometimes when I see even our primary school and secondary school conditions as we drive to the hinterlands, you know that our future is endangered. From where our primary schools, I don't know any of us here who has visited the primary schools. With due respect, we all attended. Some of them are no more there. You cannot even enter some of the classrooms. Yes, we are talking about universities, but these are the institutions that will produce students for the universities. So if the foundation be destroyed, what can the righteous do? Definitely you can see that I am on the last page, so you don't need it. In 2 minutes, I'll be through. Higher, and then an untreatable culture of corruption has not allowed the government to provide good quality education to prepare the youth for further leadership position. Without the tools, how could they grow, develop, compete, and effectively function in the rapidly changing global economy? So no nation will neglect the educational institutions and expect to progress. Therefore, the society should employ capable hands and motivate them to settle the much vexed quality issues in the education sector. Fanciful speeches cannot improve the condition of things. Miracles don't just happen. Many Nigerians have been harping on moving the nation forward without taking practical steps to accomplish that. This is what our leaders do. Say, let us move the nation forward. Let us do this, let us do that. They themselves, our leaders, go to public functions and prescribe to us how the country should function. These colorful words are wisdom. So the colorful words are wisdom only to those who do not contemplate essential reforms in the area. Nigeria cannot talk of improving its gross domestic product without improving its educational system and business environment. Good quality education and good business environment are among the primary means to spur an economy and improve the people's productivity and their living standards, which should strengthen their global competitiveness. The government should set off the high horse, should get off. The government should get off the high horse and take concrete action towards resolving the crisis in education sector. Because government is on a high horse. Sometimes they argue, tell them, they say, no, where there is insecurity. We can only a secure environment cannot talk about schooling. You know, that is what they want us to know. I think they should get off that high horse and take serious action. Because without treating the crisis in the education as a public health issue, I said they should take education crisis as a public health issue that requires serious attention. As this writer had noted elsewhere, the youth will continue to receive inferior education if we don't take it like that. And then we continue to suffer mass unemployment and social vices, such as armed robbery, prostitution, peddling, and consumption of illegal drugs. And that one could worsen. Besides, the society will continue to have illiterates as leaders and political parties without ideology, and Nigeria's politics will continue to be violent. Nigeria will continue to fall behind economically, socially, and politically, and that will continue to impact negatively on the nation's global competitiveness. Thank you, and God bless you.
Thank you very much, sir. Can we please put our hands together one more time for him? Thank you very much. We may be seated. Slight twist in the program. And I must say, sir, that was excellent. I've always known Mr. Martin OLOJA to be a fantastic writer, and I liken him to most celebrated writers all over the world. I don't miss his column every Saturday. It's something I must read every Saturday once I wake up. But what I found out today again is another side of him, that the way he writes also is the way he speaks, speaking truth to power. And today, he has taken us down the memory lane, giving us history, where we are coming from. And the critical thing for me is that when you want to solve a particular challenge, you don't just localize it. We learned something in my popular culture class, that what you do is that you can actually localize the global concept. And you have brought in a lot of global ideas that we can copy from and then change our own narrative. We are indeed very grateful. Please, once again, a round of applause to our lecturer. But you know, when he started, he painted the rot in our system. And he cited a particular university without mentioning names. And I know some of us that read far and wide, we know the university. But this is a different university. And I said something at the beginning that today's lecture, distinguished lecture, is the last that our Vice Chancellor will be witnessing. Because this university is different, we are not like the university cited, where they just imposed a Vice Chancellor on us. This Vice Chancellor was actually headhunted. He was searched for because of the qualities he embodies. And we've all experienced this. But for some who may not know some of these sterling qualities he embodies, we believe this is also, it is fitting today to just allow you to have a peep into some, and I won't show too much, okay? It's like a 30-minute documentary. I will only show you 8 minutes. Whet your appetite, and then you can come to our office to see more. This university is on the map of the world. It has changed the landscape. What are people saying about our own leader? People who are witnesses to this development. And we'll show you 5 or 6 minutes of the entire documentary so that you have an idea of why this university is the pride of this state and the envy of the nation. Please watch it as we go. Thank you.
On the 10th day of March 2020, Adeshegun Olayiwola Fatusi, FAS, an outstanding professor of public health and community medicine, left New York, USA, as director of international research at the Guttmacher Institute to take over the mantle of leadership of Nigeria's first specialized medical and health sciences university, having previously served in various leadership positions within the Nigerian university system and the international community. It is indeed remarkable that Professor Fatusi's stellar performance as Provost, College of Health Sciences at the Obafemi Awolowo University, OAU Ile-Ife, between 2013 and 2017 continued to serve as a benchmark in medical education, training, and administration. He also served without blemish in the same university as Director of the Institute of Public Health, Director of the Population and Reproductive Health Program, and Head of the Department of Community Health at different times. On the global stage, Professor Fatusi's work as technical advisor with the United Nations Population Fund, UNFPA, and the World Health Organization, WHO, led to some groundbreaking reforms in the development sector. He has also consulted for the World Bank, USAID, UNICEF, among many others. In 1987, Fatusi graduated from Obafemi Awolowo University, Ile-Ife, with a Bachelor of Medicine, Bachelor of Surgery degree, and with distinction in community health. He also received the Lawrence Omoli Award for the best graduating student in community health, among many others. It is then no surprise that the search committee of the University of Medical Sciences, UNIMED, in Ondo City, Ondo State, reached out to Professor Fatusi, inviting him to apply for the position of the Vice Chancellor of the fledgling university to help consummate on the legacy of excellence and hard work of the pioneer Vice Chancellor, Friday Okonofua, FAS, a top-rated professor of obstetrics and gynecology.
The current Vice Chancellor he has come on the next stage of development of UNIMED. The first Vice Chancellor did the foundation. This is foundation laying. When you are building an edifice, there is a foundation laying. The current Vice Chancellor has come for the superstructure of UNIMED, and is the finance kind of activity, and he has that kind of temperament, the know-how, the knowledge, the ability, the appropriate gesture, the charisma that he needs for a finance job. He has it. He's so perfectly, wonderfully coordinated, he's calculated, he's ever there. He has a superb, human relationship in terms of relating with staff, relating with students, putting everything together. And he's such a humble man, very, very humble. And with his kind, UNIMED is going places.
At the selection interview for UNIMED's next Vice Chancellor in 2019, Professor Fatusi presented a 5-point strategic agenda that was codenamed the STARS Agenda, which is simply an acronym for Strategic Repositioning, Technological Advancement, Accentuated Capacity Development, Resource Mobilization, and Optimization and Sustained Stakeholders Engagement. After 5 years of being in the driver's seat of UNIMED's administration, we explored Professor Fatusi's star agenda, point by point. It is inspiring that the university under Professor Fatusi has grown exponentially from 12 courses in 2020 to 40 courses in 2024. UNIMED now boasts of having the largest collection of medical and health sciences courses among Nigerian universities, which also includes 60 postgraduate courses, 23 PhD programs, and also has the largest number of medical and dental specialists enrolled in PhD programs. Worthy of commendation is the introduction of 15 new interdisciplinary centers, novel programs, and faculties that never existed in the Nigerian university curriculum. The Faculty of Medical Rehabilitation, which is the first of its kind in West Africa, offers programs such as Bachelor of Science degree in prosthetics and orthotics, audiology,
speech-language therapy,
occupational therapy, and doctor of physiotherapy.
Only about Faculty of Medical Rehabilitation. It's also about my specialty, which is not available in Nigeria until Professor Fatusi brought it in Nigeria. Can you imagine a country that has almost 10 million people with serious hearing defects? Serious. When I say serious, I don't talk about the mild ones, the very serious ones that need assistance, that need the help of professionals. But the course wasn't available in Nigeria. Professor Fatusi invited me from Saudi Arabia, where I was, to come and anchor this program in UNIMED. Of course, you mentioned Faculty of Medical Rehabilitation. It is also to be noted that is the first Faculty of Medical Rehabilitation in Nigeria. There are so many first things that Professor Fatusi has done, and I must commend him for that.
In all honesty, I feel proud, because this kind of course is not something you see in universities, because it's quite expensive. So if I'm doing a course like that is not even in UI or OAU, I feel quite proud and fulfilled. I'm happy.
Professor Fatusi also midwifed the establishment of a full-fledged School of Public Health, the first of its kind in Nigeria, that has been widely acknowledged as a school of public health without borders, as it bridges the gap between classroom learning and the field.
Before Professor Fatusi came, the School of Public Health was just an idea. So when Professor Fatusi
It is fulfilling that the newly established Faculty of Health Law and Humanities, which is the first of its kind in Sub-Saharan Africa, now runs MSc and PhD in Health Law and Policy. It has now graduated its first set of master's students at the 2024 convocation ceremony which included notable policymakers such as the former governor of Ondo State, Dr. Olusegun Mimiko, and a former commissioner for women affairs in Ondo State, Dr. Yemi Mahmood, among others. Building on the efforts of his predecessor, Professor Fatusi led his team to put all the necessary requirements in place to ensure the university produced 3 sets of medical doctors, 3 sets of dental surgeons, 4 sets of nurses, 4 sets of physiotherapists, 2 sets of medical laboratory scientists, 2 sets of MSc graduates, and the first PhD degree awardee within the period under review.
As fate will have it, after Professor Okonofa, we needed a systems person who could now put things in place in a very systematic fashion, who is calm and who can stand up to challenges. Then, here comes Adesegun Fatusi. The university has been lucky back to back to have good vice chancellor. This is why, perhaps for the first time in the history of medical education in Nigeria, the 10th year of the university has graduated 3 sets of doctors.
The introduction of the Next Gen Scholarship Scheme for aspiring young scientists is another eloquent testament to Fatusi's desire to produce world-class solution providers for the country in many areas of medicine and health sciences in the not-too-distant future. No doubt, the expansion of programs has catalyzed development in the university and also increased the rate of enrollment, thereby moving the internally generated revenue from 454 million naira in 2020 to over 2.5 billion naira in 2024. Under Fatusi's watch, monthly salaries of staff are paid promptly with additional incentives. The administration has organized trainings for 128 academic staff members on enhancing teaching methodologies and fostering a more effective learning environment, and has well sponsored 125 staff members to key national and international conferences and seminars, thereby deepening their expertise and expanding their professional network. The faculty administration in UNIMED has covered new grounds in many areas in 5 years to bring about innovation and ease of university administration. Living up to his outstanding track record of leading his research team to attract the highest number of external grants to Obafemi Awolowo University Ile-Ife between 2006 and 2011, Professor Fatusi, while serving as UNIMED VC, deployed his grant writing prowess and robust network to attract funding and projects to the university, which included a grant of $300,000 for the Sparkle project by the Ford Foundation, building of a molecular laboratory and lecture theatre by TEDFund, ongoing construction of 2.5 billion naira, Olu Akinkunmi Faculty of Pharmacy, among others. Since Professor Fatusi took over as Vice Chancellor, 13 new buildings have been added to the various campuses to provide more edifices for learning and administrative activities. the Vice Chancellor's tireless effort in partnership with other stakeholders to reclaim the land for the permanent site of the university at Laja Road is indeed commendable. The site is now experiencing accelerated development as there are 6 buildings under construction at the moment, which includes hostel accommodation for students and the Olu Akinkubu Faculty of Pharmacy. Apart from erecting physical structures that will engender impactful learning and comfort for both staff and students, the Vice-Chancellor took it upon himself to emplace a system that enables UNIMED students build on their soft skills and professional development for both academic and non-academic staff of the university. In acknowledgement of these modest achievements, in 2021, the National Universities Commission ranked UNIMED as the 3rd best of all specialized universities in Nigeria, 2nd best in Ondo State of all federal, state, and private universities combined, and 4th best state university in Nigeria. Overall, UNIMED was adjudged 19th best university in Nigeria, and in November 2024, the university won the Ondo State Public Service Award for its exemplary service and contribution to the development of the state. It is remarkable that the university under Professor Fatusi has had an excellent relationship with the host community of Ondo Kingdom in different areas, one of which is the U-STEM program that was designed to stimulate the study of science and innovation among secondary school students in Ondo City.
I must tell you that it was simply the brainchild of the Vice Chancellor, Professor Fatusi. And it's just, I guess, in his character of kept on pushing and said, look, what can we do for the community? How would they appreciate our presence here? It's not enough that we're just a university. We leverage on the knowledge and the innovative skills of these students and let them showcase it and win prizes. The first prize is 750,000 naira. Second prize is 500,000 naira. Third prize is 250,000 naira. Fourth prize is 100,000 naira. And fifth prize is 5,000 naira.
The relationship between the university and Ondo Kingdom is very, very cordial. Initially, when they were clamoring for an Ondo man to become the VC, now they see now that once somebody is good, it's good. So even an Ondo man cannot do better than what the current VC is doing. Kudos to Vice Chancellor of the university, who has done very, very well. I'm very, very impressed about the growth of the university.
His relationship with the Government Council has been described as a recipe for success in university administration. It must be mentioned that Professor Fatusi's exemplary leadership style, sheer audacity, and thirst for success are a driving force for the amazing feats recorded in the last 5 years of his administration at UNIME.
I can only ask you for one thing. So please stand.
On the 10th day of March,
please can we stand and give the Vice Chancellor a round of applause, standing ovation, and we bow. We are grateful, sir. We thank you most sincerely for your leadership. Thank you so much. Thank you. Thank you very much, sir. Thank you. Thank you. We may be seated. The Deputy Vice Chancellor wants to do something special. May I crave your indulgence to stand one more time? One more. She will be the one to do this. And there's a reason for it.
So can we sing for He's a Jolly Good Fellow for our visitors? For our visit. For He's a jolly good fellow. For He's a jolly good fellow. For He's a jolly good fellow. And so say all of us. And so say all of us. Hooray! And so say all of us. Hooray! For He's a jolly good fellow. For He's a jolly good fellow. For He's a jolly good fellow.
Thank you very much. Thank you very much. I said it that today is a unique one. You know, this is not the way distinguished lecture will go ordinarily. But for every event that we have till Sunday, we are in celebratory mood. We are in celebratory mood. And there's also something that when I came, I observed, and I fell in love with that practice. Usually, when you go to a prophet's house, they will tell you, don't go empty-handed. You go there and you present something to the prophet. Sir, you have come to our institution. In this institution, we demonstrate our hospitality in different areas. Today, you have come, you have seen, and for us to show you that indeed you have conquered, particularly because you spoke truth to power. We have special package also that we are giving to you, so that when you look back and you remember this day, 6th March 2025, you will say, I went to a unique institution, first of its kind in this country, the one you won't find anywhere else again. Several people are on this campus today to study our model, the model that works. Distinguished ladies and gentlemen, I have the singular honor to bring to this side of the divide the Deputy Vice Chancellor of the university, Professor Rose Angela Nhoba, to show our hospitality to the guest speaker, and she will come here, present to this. Ordinarily, it's the Vice Chancellor I will have called, but we are celebrating him. Sir, please sit down. Just watch the proceedings as the proceedings unfold. Please, let's put our hands together as the DVC comes to this side of the divide.
So I invite you, Mr. OLOJA, sir.
Don't stay. Don't stay. That's why it is funny.
So on behalf of the University Council, the University Management of the University of Medical Science, we are just giving you this token in appreciation of this wonderful lecture, which is a question that says, can the university trigger national development amid economic challenges? And you've treated this topic so well. You went to the in-depth of the intricacies of the university challenges in an economic development and showed so much light to what the university and the government should do to improve our system. We thank you very much, and we say God bless you, sir. We're also giving you this as well. It's a package. I don't know what's inside. When you get home, you can open it, and I think they're all goodies and things to read. As an editor, I'm sure you want to know more about our university. God bless you, sir. Okay, the pool is also giving you an envelope. It's not a brown one. This is a white one. It's a white envelope. So we say, in appreciation, thank you very much, sir.
Thank you very much, ma'am, for that. The first one that was given was just to say thank you. But for us to make the tank to really be full, other things are to be added. I'm sure when you open them, you will know this is indeed a unique institution. I want to respectfully call on the registrar of the university, Mr. Imole Ayo Adeniran, to help us do the vote of thanks for this 11th distinguished lecture of the university. Please a round of applause for him.
Thank you very much. The outgoing Vice Chancellor of our university, Deputy Vice Chancellor Academics, the bursar of our university, and the librarian, deans, directors, heads of department, and the guest lecturer of today. It has indeed been a great day because there are some history regarding university education that some of us might not have had the privilege to have had in the time past that we have been told today. And we've also been told about the present state of the Nigerian university and what the future of the Nigerian university should be. Mr. OLOJA, we want to thank you so very much for what you have espoused us to today and what you have triggered our mind to, both the young and the middle age and even the elderly, for what you have made us to know that this is what the university of the future should be. Thank you very much, sir. And on behalf of the Governing Council of the University, Management, Senate, staff and students, we thank you so very much, sir. And to the university management that have put this together, we thank you too, sir. Thank you so very much, Mr. Vice Chancellor. And to every one of us who had taken time out to be at this lecture today, we thank you and we appreciate you. Thank you very much.
Distinguished ladies and gentlemen, with the vote of thanks, we have come to the end of the 11th distinguished lecture of the university. A very important announcement: as soon as we leave this place, we are moving to one of the legacies that the Vice Chancellor is leaving behind for us. There is going to be commissioning of the Archival and Documentation Center of the university immediately. It's going to be a very brief program, but I encourage you to see what is in there. You will marvel when you get there. That is what we are doing immediately after this. Commissioning of the Archival Center. Then the Archival Center is down there. We will lead you there, and then you will see what is happening there. Distinguished ladies and gentlemen, may I please crave our indulgence to stand as we bring this distinguished lecture to a close with anthems. And please note that immediately after the anthems, we all remain standing for the procession to move in reverse order. And then we'll have group photograph outside. Thank you.
Nation.
Vice-Chancellor in 2019, Professor Fatusi presented a 5-point strategic agenda that was codenamed the STARS Agenda, which is simply an acronym for Strategic Repositioning, Technological Advancement, Accentuated Capacity Development, Resource Mobilization, and Optimization and Sustained Stakeholders Engagement.